The wife wanted to convince her husband to separate but didn't know how. However, while walking down the street, a stranger said something that led her to make an unexpected choice. "Hello, welcome. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications." Since childhood, Lidisha was an unlucky child. Everything went wrong for her. She frequently lost things, was always late, and chose questions on tests that she knew the least about. After school, she couldn't get into her dream college and, in desperation, decided to study to become a chef. After culinary school, Lidisha worked at a cafe near her house, but due to her bad luck, she didn't stay long and was fired over a major food shortage, even though it wasn't her fault. However, she was an excellent cook, especially with pastries. Following the advice of her friend Camila, Lidisha decided to bake cakes at home for orders. Surprisingly, her small business grew quickly, and soon she had a long list of clients. After her mother's death, the responsibility of taking care of her father fell entirely on Lidisha. Although only 67 years old, her father had serious health problems and rarely left the house. Lidisha loved her father very much. He was the closest person to her, always supporting and trying to understand his unlucky daughter. "Lidisha, I really want to see you married and to have grandchildren," he would often say to his daughter. "Dad, who am I going to marry?" "The first man I meet," she replied. "You should look around. You have Camila, maybe she knows some single guys." "Dad, when the time comes, I will get married. I'm not in a rush." "You may have time, but I don't have much left. I'd like to see my grandchild or grandchildren and know that you are in good hands," her father pleaded. "You will, Dad. You still have a lot of time, you're still quite young," Lidisha reassured him. However, she realized her father was right, and time was running out. She was already 28 years old, and there was no one decent on the horizon. One day, Lidisha had a cake to deliver. She ran as fast as she could to the address. Usually, clients picked up their orders, but today was an exception, and Lidisha had to deliver the cake to the birthday person. The guy who ordered it was in a cast and expecting guests. He couldn't pick up his cake and probably didn't want to bother his relatives or friends. Lidisha rang the doorbell and heard, "Come in, it's open." She walked in timidly and looked around. "With my luck, the only thing missing is finding a crazy person," Lidisha thought as she entered the living room. A guy was sitting on the sofa. One of his legs was in a cast, and the other was bandaged. It was clear that getting up to open the door was a real challenge for him. "Hi, did you order a cake?" "Yes, I did. Sorry to bother you and ask for delivery, but look at the situation," he pointed to his feet. "Car accident. I'm recovering now." "That's a shame. What do the doctors say? Will you walk again?" Lidisha asked. "Yes, of course, but only in a few months." "Do you live alone?" "You might need some help," Lidisha suggested. The guy looked at Lidisha, surprised. It's wonderful these days, a stranger offering help. What's so surprising about that? It seems normal to me. We're human, and we should be kind and help each other. "So, do you need help?" "To be honest, a lot," the guy admitted, embarrassed. "What do you need? Tell me." "Nothing right now, but if you could come a few times a week to do some shopping and clean, I would pay you. My mom lives far away, and I don't want to bother her. Besides, I don't want to stay in the same apartment with her for a few months, she's complicated. She's a former prosecutor, you know, he said. I see, I sympathize. When do you need me to come? Let's do this, the day after tomorrow around 11 a.m., would that work? Yes, that's a convenient time. How much will you pay me? Nothing, Lidisha said honestly. I won't charge anything. I'll just help you as a human being. The guy looked at her again, surprised, and then examined her from head to toe. I don't know whether to call you incredible or weird. I'd prefer the first option. Lidisha smiled. A beautiful young woman willing to work as a housekeeper for free for a stranger is a paradox, honestly. So, let's introduce ourselves. What's your name? Lidisha. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Lucas. Look, Lucas, my parents taught me that people need help regardless of age or gender. If a person needs help, that's just how things are. I'm just helping for free. If you don't like my offer, no problem, I won't come. On the contrary, I am delighted with your offer. I'm just surprised by your humanity and kindness, and I apologize if I offended you in any way. We'll see each other on Friday. I'll be here at 11 a.m. Thank you. I'll be waiting for you. Then Lidisha realized, oh, it's your birthday today. Congratulations, I wish you a quick recovery and the most positive emotions in your life. The main thing is that you're alive and relatively healthy. The bones will heal, and you can move on with your life. Thank you. You're an optimist, aren't you? I don't know, but we should always believe in the best and appreciate what we have. Have a good day. See you on Friday. Goodbye, and thank you again. On Friday, Lidisha came to Lucas's house as promised. She cleaned, went to the market for groceries, and prepared food for a few days. Lucas watched her actions with admiration and was amazed by her speed in the kitchen. You should work in a restaurant as a cook, he said. Oh no, thank you. I've already worked there and had enough of that bad experience. Yes, it was terrible, but there are other places. Maybe you should try again, you have talent, you know. I was going to look for a job elsewhere, but on a friend's advice, I started baking cakes at home. I have enough clients and earn well, so why should I work for someone else if I work perfectly well for myself? That makes sense. If you earn enough, why not? And what do you do? I also work, but not for myself. I work for a company, we developed software programs. They talked a little more, and then Lidisha went home. But from that day on, she began coming to Lucas's house 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It was difficult for her because her orders were scheduled for several weeks, but she couldn't refuse when she saw that the man needed her help. He could, of course, temporarily hire a nurse or a home aide, but it would take time to find someone trustworthy, and he needed help now. Besides, for some reason, Lidisha took great pleasure in communicating with him. Therefore, Lidisha firmly decided she would go to him until Lucas's cast was removed. Meanwhile, the more she talked to him, the more she felt attracted to this guy. Their communication was easy and straightforward. Lucas told many interesting stories. She listened with her mouth open and didn't realize how she was falling in love. Her father noticed almost immediately that his daughter was in love. Lidisha, he called out to her, while she was making the icing for the cake. "Letitia, dear, can you hear me?" But Letitia was lost in her fantasies and didn't hear that her father had called her several times. He got up from his chair and touched her arm. "Are you okay?" her father asked, concerned. "Yes, I'm fine. I just need to finish the icing and run to Lucas's house." "It's Wednesday." "To Lucas's house, I see," her father smiled and said nothing more. Letitia happily climbed to the 3rd floor. She had made a cake for Lucas yesterday and was eager to surprise him with a gift. He loved sweets. Upon entering the apartment, she saw a young woman sitting next to Lucas, telling him something excitedly. "Good afternoon," Letitia greeted. The stranger turned and looked at Letitia. "Lucas, I'll leave now. I won't interrupt your maid while she cleans. I'll drop by one of these days. Don't miss me, dear." She leaned over, kissed Lucas on the cheek, and left. Letitia felt a sharp pang of jealousy. She wanted to throw the cake at the young woman who dared to kiss her Lucas, but she held back and simply asked, "Is she your girlfriend?" "No, she's a colleague who came to visit me," Lucas replied calmly. "I see. Do you always kiss your colleagues?" Letitia couldn't resist asking, and Lucas was clearly surprised. "Is there a problem with that?" he asked, clearly teasing. "No, I was just asking. But I think someone here is jealous," Lucas smiled. He was flattered by Letitia's reaction to the presence of another woman. "Jealous? Why?" Lucas stood up with his left leg, which was now unbandaged, and walked calmly over to Letitia. "I see how you look at me," he whispered to her, and Letitia felt a lump in her throat from excitement. "Are you saying you don't like me and don't care who comes to visit me?" "No, I do care," Letitia said almost inaudibly, but inside, she reprimanded herself. "What are you doing? You shouldn't say anything about your feelings, even if you want to." She barely held back from kissing him, as he was so close like never before. But Lucas took the initiative. He leaned in and kissed Letitia tenderly. It was the kind of kiss that makes you dizzy, weakens your knees, a kiss after which you want to keep going, and Letitia did. Lucas did too. He took Letitia's hand and led her to the bedroom. An hour later, Letitia looked happily and contentedly at Lucas. Now she was only worried about one question: what would happen next? "Don't you think we rushed things?" she finally asked, hoping he would deny it. But Lucas remained silent, which scared Letitia. She didn't know what he was thinking or what to say, so she just waited. "It seems to me," Lucas began, and Letitia tensed up, anticipating something that would make her feel bad, "that you should move in here." "What do you think?" "Move in? I don't understand." "In the most straightforward sense. Let's live together." It seemed so simple that Letitia felt a bit offended, as if he had suggested going to the movies and not living together. "Lucas, have you ever had a relationship?" "Yes, my girlfriend and I lived together for 2 years, and then she left me for someone else." "Apparently, he was better than me," Lucas said sadly. "I wouldn't have left you." "I know, Letitia. There's no one like you on this planet. You are a unique girl. That's why I want you to live with me." "I thought you wanted to live with me because you love me," Letitia said, feeling offended. "Well, that's obvious," he replied. The phrase sounded simple, without feeling or emotion, but Letitia didn't notice. She considered it a declaration of love and was happy that Lucas loved her. I just have to talk to my father. I'll speak with him tonight, and tomorrow I'll pack my things and move in here. Oh, Lidisha, I just remembered, I have to bring all my things and give my new address to my clients. Do you mind if I continue my business here? Lidisha, don't be silly. Not in my house, but in our house. This is your place now, too. And why would I mind you doing what you love? I'll also be working, so it's fine. Just one condition. The last sentence sounded severe and serious. Lidisha tensed up. What is it? She asked, confused, not knowing what to expect. You have to make your lovely cakes for me too. Lucas laughed. Phew, you scared me. Of course, I will, Lidisha smiled. When she got home, Lidisha immediately informed her father that she would now be staying with Lucas. He wasn't pleased about it. Why hasn't he asked you to marry him? I don't like this at all. But you're an adult, and it's your decision. Dad, don't worry. Everything will be fine. The main thing is that we love each other. I don't believe in strong feelings when things happen so quickly. But you were the one who wanted me to get married and give you a grandchild. What's wrong now? You're not getting married, you're just moving in with him. We will get married. We've already talked about it. We just need to save a bit of money. Lucas hasn't worked in a while, and a wedding is very expensive. I have money. I've been saving it for your wedding. Dad, please don't pressure me. I promise everything will be fine. We will get married. Alright, do whatever you want. You're an adult. I trust you. Thank you. That's why I love you so much. The next day, Lidisha moved into Lucas's house, and after 3 days, he finally took off his cast. Life continued as usual, work, home, work. Lucas spent a lot of time at work, often staying late, but the salary was quite decent. After a few months, he suggested that Lidisha get a driver's license. Why would I need a license? I don't have a car, Lidisha argued. Then let's buy you a car, Lucas suggested. It would be more convenient for you to deliver orders and do the shopping. You could increase the number of orders this way. Lidisha looked at Lucas, surprised. I stay by the stove all day. If I increase the orders, I'll be sleeping by the stove. Come on, don't make things up. Look, I work all day and come home late. You could make not 2 but 4 cakes a day. That's double the profit. I think you should earn while you can and save for the future. I'll think about it, Lidisha agreed. Time passed. The number of orders was growing rapidly, and it was becoming increasingly difficult to work at home. Lidisha decided to talk to her father about it. Dad, I need to have a serious conversation with you. What is it? Are you getting married? Her father asked hopefully. No, not yet. I wanted to ask for a loan. My business is expanding. It's no longer realistic to handle all the orders at home. I want to rent a space, and I promise to pay it back as soon as I make some money. Lidisha, I saved this money for the most important day of your life, not for business. I'm sorry, Dad. Are you serious? Absolutely. I'm sorry, but with your luck, you shouldn't start a business. That's my opinion. But I already have a business. I'm just going to change the location, that's all. That's your right, but I won't give you money for that, only for the wedding. Lidisha felt offended. So, her father didn't believe in her. Maybe he was right, and she shouldn't expand. With her luck, she could lose everything. But if you're afraid of everything, nothing will ever succeed. So, Lidisha decided to talk to Lucas about taking out a loan, but to her surprise, he was also strongly against it. Why do you need a space? Can you explain? There isn't enough room here. During the day, when you're not home, the apartment is all mine. Why waste money on nonsense? I don't cook all over the apartment, just in the kitchen. And it's small, I don't have space to store everything I need. Lidisha tried to explain, before, there was enough space here anyway. I don't want to argue about it, but you know my opinion. I am completely against the loan. Receiving no support from anyone, Lidisha resigned herself to the idea. Her mood was ruined because she had been so excited about the idea of expansion. She had already imagined how she would grow into her own bakery and become well known throughout the city. But it wasn't meant to be. The next day, Lidisha woke up completely exhausted. She felt nauseous and had no energy at all. This continued for several days, and finally, Lucas persuaded her to go to the clinic, where Lidisha found out she was pregnant. Lucas received the news calmly and without emotion. "We need to get married," he said as calmly as before. "What do you mean? If it weren't for the pregnancy, we wouldn't be getting married." Lidisha clarified. "Why would we get married? Everything is fine between us. A stamp in my passport doesn't affect my attitude towards you in any way. Do people get married just for a stamp in their passport?" Lidisha wondered aloud. "I have no idea why people get married. Probably so that their children have official parents." "You have a peculiar understanding of marriage," Lidisha noted. "I always thought people got married because they love each other and want to be together for life. And who is stopping them from being together if they are not married? Is it against the law to live together without marriage?" "No, but it's a completely different status," Lidisha tried to persuade her lover, but without success. "Lidisha, enough. We have to get married, and we will get married. No problem." A month later, they had a wedding. There were few guests, only about 20 people. The day before the wedding, Lidisha met her future mother-in-law, who clearly did not like her. "Don't worry about it," Lucas reassured her. "She'll go back to her city 2 days after the wedding, and you'll only hear from her occasionally on the phone. My mother is a difficult person. Even I can't find common ground with her, so a negative attitude toward you is quite expected." As Lucas had said, Lidisha's mother-in-law left in a few days, and everything went back to normal. About 3 weeks after the wedding, Lidisha needed to deliver another order. The cake was huge, and she was carrying it with difficulty up the stairs. Suddenly, she stumbled and fell with the cake. A sharp pain in her stomach twisted her in half. Following Lidisha down the stairs was a woman who immediately called an ambulance. The result of the fall was the loss of the baby. Lidisha was in shock. Why? Why am I so unlucky? Will this never end? I can't take it anymore. As soon as something good happens, an endless downpour of bad luck follows, Lidisha cried as she lay in the ward. Lucas visited his wife a few times and told her not to worry, that there would be children. Maybe this wasn't the right time, he said. Lidisha looked at her husband with tear-filled eyes. How is this not the right time? When is the right time? You don't care. Of course I care, too. I just realized that no matter what happens, we have to move forward. If we can't change the situation, we have to change our attitude. Lucas, I didn't lose my purse or scratch my car. I lost our baby, our little one, yours and mine. How can you talk about it like that? Tears streamed down her eyes, filled with sorrow and resentment. Lidisha understood that a man cannot comprehend what a woman feels at a time like this. But to talk about losing a child as if losing a glove was too much. Go away. I want to be alone. 3 days later, Lidisha was discharged, but she was different. It seemed like she had grown up overnight. Her carefree joy had disappeared, and she didn't want to do anything. This lasted almost 6 months. The customers gradually disappeared because Lidisha turned everyone down and didn't want to make cakes. Lidisha, what are you doing? Cakes are your favorite thing. Camila tried to support her friend. I can't. I always get a lot of orders for children's birthday cakes, and I can't, Lidisha said and began to cry. It was painful to see her like that. Something had to be done to get her out of this state. Camila called Lucas. Listen, you need to take her on vacation, a change of scenery. She needs positive emotions. I can't. I have an important project. What's more important to you, your wife or your project? My wife and the project. Listen, why don't you take her on vacation wherever you want? I'll pay for it. Camila was shocked by the offer. On the one hand, she wouldn't refuse a vacation at someone else's expense, but on the other, she understood that her friend needed her husband's support. Although, in this case, perhaps the support of a friend would be better. Okay, I'll think about it and talk to Lidisha. I'll let you know later. Camila managed to convince Lidisha to go on vacation. She chose Hawaii because she had always dreamed of going there. Lucas paid for the trip for his wife and Camila, and the friends flew to the islands. The vacation did Lidisha good. She calmed down and seemed to put the situation behind her a bit. Lidisha, I understand that it's hard for you, Camila said. Yes, I don't understand how hard, but you need to move forward somehow. You have a father who is worried about you, and Lucas depends on you a lot, so you need to be strong. Yes, I think you're right. I need to pull myself together and move on. I can't change the situation anyway. 2 weeks passed quickly, and the results were visible. Lidisha returned home thinking about what she could cook to please her husband and show him that she was almost the same as before. But when she entered the apartment, Lidisha saw another woman's shoes. Strange, Lucas is at work. He should be there. Maybe he hired someone to clean the apartment for my arrival, Lidisha wondered. She went to the kitchen. There was a bottle, 2 glasses, and a plate of fruit on the table. It didn't seem like the presence of a housekeeper. Suddenly, Lidisha heard unmistakable sounds coming from the bedroom and headed in that direction. More than anything, she wanted to see one of Lucas's friends with his girlfriend. More than anything, she wanted to see one of Lucas's friends, not a girlfriend. She opened the door and froze. Lucas was with the same colleague who had visited him during his medical leave. What's happening here? Lidisha asked loudly, startling the couple. You're back. Lucas asked fearfully. You were supposed to fly back tomorrow, weren't you? No, our trip ended, and the flight was today. I told you, Letitia replied calmly, though she was in shock and barely understood what was happening. Lucas got up from the bed, put on his shirt, and approached his wife. Actually, I'm glad you caught us. I'm tired of hiding. Camila and I have been in a relationship for a long time, but she was married. Now she's divorced. You and I have nothing to do with each other, so I'm leaving. Leaving? What an abomination. I'm disgusted even to look at you. I never thought I'd live with a moral monster like you. Letitia turned and left the apartment, slamming the door loudly. She went down the stairs and cried. I'm not just unlucky. I'm cursed, I think. God, why are you doing this to me? She had no other words or questions. Letitia left the building and sat down on a bench. She didn't know how to move on or where to go. To her father? And say what? That she is a complete failure who can't even find a decent husband? Letitia took her phone and dialed Camila's number. Can I come over? Sweetie, what happened? Camila asked, realizing that something terrible had happened. I left Lucas, or rather, he left me for his lover. I just caught them in the apartment, well, his apartment. What a nightmare. Come over, of course. I'm waiting. Camila stood by the window, waiting for her friend. Why is she so unlucky? Just when things were starting to get better, here we go again. What should I say to her now? What words should I use to comfort her? Letitia went up to the apartment and, looking at her friend, cried loudly. Camila cried with her, her heart torn with pity and compassion. She let Letitia stay at her house for a few days until she could at least pull herself together. What are you going to do now, Letitia? Go back home? Do I have any other options? Well, don't get discouraged. I believe everything will still work out for you, Camila tried to comfort her friend. You're such an optimist, Letitia said sadly. But I don't believe it. I don't think I belong in this world at all. Oh, my friend, don't you dare say that. You're scaring me, Camila said, genuinely alarmed by Letitia's words. Listen, darling, let's get drunk. You need to relieve some stress. You know I don't like that. Well, in your case, it will be the cure. 2 glasses of good wine never hurt anyone. It will help clear your mind. All right, let's do it, Letitia agreed. Then pack your things, and let's go to the store. I'm not leaving you alone. Are you afraid I might do something to myself? Don't worry. My father needs me. If it weren't for him, I would have done something a long time ago, Letitia said honestly. Letitia, I might be saying something stupid now, but see the situation with Lucas from another perspective. After all, he cheated on you from the beginning. Why would you want a husband like that? It's better to be alone than with a man like that. Do I have a choice? Suitors. Maybe I had many of them. Who cares how many you had? I'm not married yet, either. So what? I haven't met the right man yet, but I won't marry the first guy I meet. I don't know. I don't know. That night, the friends got drunk. 3 glasses of wine were enough for Letitia. The nervous tension took its toll. The next day, she returned to her father's house. At first, he was very upset that Lidicia's life hadn't been successful, and when he found out what Lucas had done, he was glad that everything had been clarified so quickly. You should be happy that everything is coming to light now. Imagine living with a man your whole life and then finding out he's lived with 2 families all these years. You still have time to build a new relationship. Dad, where am I going to find a new relationship? With my luck, I can't even find a beggar, clean him up, and live with him. Don't be silly. You will find the right man. I feel like you're going to find him very soon. Remember, I didn't like that Lucas from the start. Days passed. Lidicia began to hope that Lucas would call and say he had changed his mind and wanted to live with her, asking her to come back. But time passed, and he didn't call. 2 weeks later, Lidicia found out that Lucas had filed for divorce. Lidicia was devastated. She desperately wanted to go back to her husband but didn't know how. Camila, how can I get him back? Maybe go to his house and apologize, she asked her friend for advice. Apologize for what? Camila was shocked. For being a bad wife, for throwing tantrums after losing a child, for crying too much. He probably didn't like all that, got tired of it, and that's why he went to someone else. Lidicia, wake up. He had that mistress the whole time, for years. Your tantrums have nothing to do with it. But I love him. I want him to stay with me, not her, Lidicia cried. Look, Lidicia, no matter what you say or do, you can't force him to stay with you. Remember that. I'll go to the divorce hearing and talk to him there. Maybe he'll change his mind about divorcing me. Darling, what are you saying? You should have some pride. I don't want to be proud. I want to be happy, and I won't be happy without him, Lidicia stubbornly repeated. Do what you want. I'm sorry, but I'm tired of repeating the same thing to you, said Camila, who was tired of hearing this nonsense. The divorce was scheduled for 11:30. Lidicia had been anxious since early in the morning. She woke up around 6 a.m., drank 3 cups of coffee, and didn't put down the phone, hoping Lucas would call and say he had changed his mind and the divorce was cancelled. But Lucas didn't call, and her hope was fading every minute. Lidicia put on a suit, did her hair, but didn't put on makeup. Maybe if Lucas saw her like this, he would feel sorry for her and change his mind. Lidicia went to the location on autopilot, stopping several times, deciding if she should go further. After all, if she didn't show up, the divorce would be postponed, and she would have time to reconcile with her husband. Lidicia looked at her watch. It wasn't 11 yet. She sat on a bench in the park near the building she needed to go to. Why cry so much? She heard a female voice. Lidicia looked up. Across from her stood 2 strangely dressed women. One wore a dress, a hoodie, several bracelets, rings, and a shiny necklace. The other looked equally unusual, a long skirt, a colorful shirt, and many accessories on her arms. She had necklaces around her neck and sunglasses on her eyes. Lidicia felt uncomfortable. Excuse me, are you talking to me? Lidicia asked. Yes, dear, said the woman with the necklaces. Why are you so worried? After all, you've already been through so much sadness, and this is just a small thing. How do you know? Lidicia was surprised. I know everything about you. Would you like me to tell you? I don't have any money, Lidicia warned. And who said I need money? I don't. The best reward for me is when people are happy. When you get rich, then you can pay me if you want. Oh, don't make me laugh. Getting rich with my luck is out of the question. I can only go bankrupt, Lidisha smiled. For some reason, she felt amused by these words. Well, laugh. Laughing is better than crying. And as for your bad luck, it will soon pass. You better listen to what I have to say. Don't try to hold on to your husband. Let him go. Forgive him. Let him go. Don't cling to the past, or you'll lose the future. How do you know this? It sounds fantastic. And you believe me? Yes, you have a very bright future ahead of you, happy and secure. But first, you need to let go of the past. I'd like to know how to do that, Lidisha said sadly. It's simple. Imagine your spouse, your mother in front of your eyes. Mentally wish them happiness sincerely, from the bottom of your heart, that everything goes well for them. Lidisha wondered how this woman knew so much about her and Lucas. Suddenly, Lidisha thought that the women in front of her were actresses hired by the creative Camila to put on a show and make Lidisha believe she didn't need Lucas. I see you doubt the truth of my words, smiled the woman with the necklaces. Do you remember how in 3rd grade you stole a beautiful pencil from the teacher's desk and never admitted it to anyone? I know you remember because you are still tormented by that story. Lidisha blushed. She had never felt so embarrassed before. It was true. No one, not a single soul in the world, knew about this transgression of hers, which she was indeed ashamed of. Do you believe me now? The woman smiled. I believe you. I apologize. What are you apologizing for? You have the right not to believe the first person you meet. It's okay. I just proved that I'm not a liar, unlike many out there. By the way, go on, dear. You need to go, and don't forget what I told you. May I ask another question? Lidisha suddenly asked. Yes, although I already know what you want to ask. Don't worry, you'll have children, too, and your father will see both of his grandchildren. This was a tremendous shock. It was something Lidisha hadn't expected. She had seen things like this in movies, but it wasn't real. And here, in real life, such miracles were happening. Thank you very much. You have no idea how much you've helped me now. Where can I find you? Why? If I need you, I'll find you myself. Thank you very much. Go on, go. It's time. And don't worry, he will greatly regret what he did to you, said the woman finally. Who? Lucas? Lidisha clarified. Yes, replied the woman, and taking her companion by the arm, walked away. Only then did Lidisha notice that the woman with the necklaces was blind. Wow, I've never experienced anything like this before. I need to tell Camila. She'll be amazed, thought Lidisha. She had already reached the building but suddenly stopped, took a step aside, and closed her eyes. The most hated image appeared before her eyes, her husband and his mistress. Lidisha calmly visualized their faces and mentally said 3 times, I'm letting you go, be happy, and suddenly felt better. I wonder how this works. I did nothing, just said the words, but it made me feel better. It's a paradox, thought Lidisha as she entered. Lucas came to the meeting with Camila. For some reason, Letitia found it amusing, as if Camilla was afraid to let him go alone to meet his wife. Without letting Lucas say a word, Letitia said, "I fully agree with the divorce and wish my ex-husband happiness from the bottom of my heart." After all the papers were signed, Lucas approached Letitia. "I didn't expect such an attitude from you. I was sure you'd cause a scene and ask for time to reconcile. You're a wonderful woman, I've said that from the beginning." He lowered his head and added quietly, "Sorry, it happened and didn't work out. It's okay. It's just an experience. Be happy, Lucas." "Sorry, I have to go. When will you pick up your things and give me the keys?" "One of these days, I'll call you." Letitia waved and walked toward the exit. She was in a great mood and felt incredibly light. Whether it was the effect of the blind woman's words or letting the situation go, it was unknown, but Letitia felt light and at peace for the first time in months since the loss of the child. She called Camilla. "Hi, friend, what are you doing tonight?" "Hi." Camilla was extremely surprised by Letitia's good mood. She hadn't heard her so cheerful and happy for a long time. "How are you? Did you reconcile with your husband?" "No, I'm a woman officially divorced," Letitia replied happily. "Letitia, what have you been drinking?" Camilla asked, still puzzled. "Nothing. Where could I be drinking? I just left the divorce meeting. Or do you think they serve champagne after a divorce?" Letitia laughed. "Then I don't understand why you're so satisfied," Camilla admitted frankly. "Come to my house, and I'll tell you everything. I'll cook something delicious. We can celebrate. I'll see you at 6 p.m., okay?" "Agreed," Camilla said and hung up, thinking, maybe she's experiencing some irrational joy due to stress. A very strange behavior occurred, but when Camilla arrived at Letitia's house that night and her friend told her everything, she felt relieved about Letitia's mental state, although Camilla was extremely surprised to hear about such an incredible clairvoyant. "Honestly, I don't believe in psychics and mediums. They are just good psychologists who can read our emotions and experiences and predict the future," said Camilla. "No, Camilla, I'm telling you, she's real. She told me something that no one could know and could not have guessed because I had forgotten it a long time ago," Letitia insisted. "That's why I believe in her prophecy." "Well, whatever," said Camilla, not wanting to ruin her friend's mood. Letitia continued with her life little by little. She started to reach out to her old clients and acquire new ones, enrolled in a confectionery course to improve her cake decorating skills, and fulfilled an old dream by buying a kitten. Her father watched his daughter and marveled. It was as if she had blossomed again. "Letitia, I'm so happy that you've recovered from everything and gone back to being who you were," he said to his daughter. "I want you to do well. You know, I've been thinking. Maybe I was wrong that time, but I think now you could rent a space for your own business." "Dad, are you serious? You were totally against it. Seriously, why not take a risk while you're young? We'll have to figure it out and do the math. Can I ask you something?" "Of course. You didn't want to give the money because of Lucas, right? Because you didn't like him?" "Yes," her father said honestly, "I didn't trust him." "I understand. Okay, Dad, I'll figure it out and let you know." Letitia found a place, researched everything, and calculated the necessary funds. Her father's savings covered only half the amount, and she told him they would need to take out a loan. Are you ready to take a risk? You know, I'm tired of being afraid of bad luck, Lidisha said cheerfully. I found loans with favorable interest rates for small businesses. If everything goes as planned, I can repay them easily, maybe even ahead of time. I believe in you, my dear. You will succeed. The following week, Lidisha dealt with the paperwork and prepared the place for the business. She rented equipment, bought supplies, and organized everything. She set up a small storefront to sell some items locally. The location was convenient, close to a university, offices, and residential neighborhoods. To her great surprise, the business took off quickly. Former customers, knowing Lidisha was opening a bakery, came looking for cakes, cupcakes, and cookies. 2 years passed. During this time, Lidisha opened 2 bakeries and 2 small kiosks with fresh baked goods. In addition to sweets, they baked baguettes, bread, and savory pastries. Things were going well. Lidisha's father was proud of her. You see, luck loves you. You are doing very well, he said. Dad, I have a surprise for you. I bought a trip to a wonderful sanatorium. No, thank you, her father said. You need to improve your health. I can afford it now and send you to rest. The place is beautiful, you will love it and want to go again. For how long? The man asked resignedly. 24 days. And don't make that face as if I'm forcing you to eat porridge. You are an adult, you must realize that at your age, you need to take special care of your health. So think about the books you want to take so you don't get bored. You have 2 days to pack. Yes, ma'am, her father said jokingly and raised his hand to his head, saluting like a soldier. Very well. The next day, Camila called. Hello, businesswoman. Aren't you going to offer a delicious piece of cake to an old friend? Hi, Camila. I'm a little busy, to be honest. Let me send my father to the sanatorium tomorrow, and we can meet in the evening. Okay, let's go to Deja Vu then, Camila suggested. Why not? I don't know this place. It's a new restaurant that opened a few months ago. It's excellent. Let's go. Reserve a table for 8 o'clock tomorrow. I can't go earlier. Great, see you tomorrow then. The next morning, Lidisha helped her father pack his bags and took him to the train station, getting his word to follow all the procedures and not return home before the end of the trip. She sent him off to rest. She had many things planned for the day and was still busy until the evening. While driving and talking on the phone, she didn't notice and cut off another car. The problem was that the car was expensive, which meant a big problem. The driver jumped out, yelling, "Where did you buy your license?" and walked determinedly towards Lidisha's car. She shrank back, anticipating a confrontation, and lowered the window a little. Seeing that the one responsible for the accident was a woman, the driver stopped, looked closely at Lidisha, and suddenly asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Lidisha replied, surprised, and got out of the car. "Did I scratch your car?" "I couldn't brake in time." "Good reaction, but you shouldn't drive like that, or you could have an accident." "Sorry, I don't usually drive like that. It's just a busy day." "It's okay. Have a good day and good luck on the road," the man said and headed for his car. "Wait." Lidisha caught up with him and handed him her business card. "Here, take this. You'll get a 30% discount on any order as compensation. The man took the business card and asked, surprised, "So this is your bakery?" "Yes, it is," Lidisha said and extended her hand for a handshake. The stranger smiled and shook her hand. "Souza, restaurateur." Lidisha smiled. At that moment, Esteveo's phone rang. "Yes, I'm on my way, literally 5 minutes," he said to someone on the phone, then to Lidisha, "Sorry, I'm in a hurry. I'll definitely stop by for a cake, they're great, I've already tried them." He got into the car and drove off. Lidisha watched him leave and thought that for the first time in her life, she was happy about her distraction. She had met a colleague, a very attractive colleague. Estevao was about the same height as Lidisha but athletic and very attractive. She even smiled at her thoughts, thinking of an interesting man for the first time since her divorce. Yes, clearly, a personal life is lacking, or rather, it is completely absent, Lidisha thought and smiled again. At night, she arrived at the Deja Vu restaurant a little late. Camila was already waiting for her at the table. "You're late." "Sorry, I had a busy day. I sent my father to a sanatorium in the morning, then had a small accident, then the tax office, then the suppliers. I just left work, and I didn't even have a chance to change," Lidisha sighed. "Okay, stop, dear. Have a glass of champagne and relax. You're talking like a hunted horse. Tell me, is your father happy with the trip? And about the accident, no one got hurt?" "You know my father, he's not super excited, but he went. I hope he likes it there, the place is beautiful." Lidisha drank the champagne and slowly relaxed. "And the accident?" "Nothing special. I didn't notice the car around the corner. Everyone is alive and well, even the cars, but the driver was so handsome," Lidisha rolled her eyes dreamily. "That's interesting. Tell me more." "Oh, Camila, I think I urgently need a man, or soon I'll be throwing myself at passers-by. And by the way, he's in the restaurant business." "I didn't ask what kind of restaurant." "Oh, stop. Yes, he just received a phone call and left quickly, but I gave him my business card, and he promised to come back for a cake." "That's already good. Let's hope he comes soon." Camila smiled. The women ordered, drank champagne, and chatted happily. They were both in great spirits. Suddenly, Lidisha heard behind her, "You didn't hit my car, so you decided to continue in my restaurant?" Lidisha turned and saw Estevao standing behind her. "Oh, good evening. This is your restaurant?" "In fact, it is mine. Is there a problem, any complaints about the service?" Estevao asked hospitably. No, everything is fine." Lidisha smiled. "Wonderful. You know, I just saw a familiar face, so I decided to ask how things were going." "How is everything?" "Good for her, then. Rest and have a good evening. Perhaps you'd like me to join you?" "Yes, of course, but a little later." Estevao smiled and moved away from the table. "I think that handsome guy is the driver you almost crashed into today," Camila said. "I understand you, he's really handsome. If I were you, I would turn on all my charm and try to win him over." "And what if he's married?" "He's in his 30s, I'd say 40s, but you can flirt and find out if he's married or not." After the orders arrived, the women started eating. The food was excellent. After finishing the main course, Lidisha and Camilla continued talking and joking. They were both in great spirits. The waitress came and placed another bottle of champagne and a plate of fruit on the table. "We didn't order more champagne," Camilla said calmly. "It's on the house." The waitress smiled and placed a third glass on the table. Lidisha began to worry. She realized that Estevao would join them now, but she had already drunk a bit, relaxed, and wasn't coordinating her words well. "Camilla, don't leave me alone with him," she pleaded with her friend. "But you really need to relax, Camilla. Are you my friend or his?" "Yours, of course, but..." She didn't finish because Estevao pulled up a chair and sat beside the women. Lidisha was trembling inside with excitement. There was an incredible and tempting smell coming from Estevao. After about 10 minutes, Camilla excused herself and said she needed to leave urgently. Lidisha almost screamed in indignation, pleading with her eyes not to leave her alone with Estevao. But Camilla was determined. She leaned towards Lidisha and whispered, "I'm your friend, that's why I'm leaving you two alone. Have a good night. Call me tomorrow." Lidisha was afraid to be alone with Estevao. She and Camilla had drunk a bottle of champagne between them, but for Lidisha, who didn't drink, it was too much, plus a glass from the second bottle. Meanwhile, the champagne did its job, and Lidisha began to speak. "Estevao, can I ask you a question? Just answer honestly, please." "Of course, I always answer honestly." Estevao smiled while watching Lidisha getting drunk before his eyes. "Are you married?" "No, I've never been." "Why? Are you against an official relationship?" "No, I just didn't have time initially, and now I'm actively looking for a soulmate, but so far without success." He continued smiling. He definitely liked Lidisha, especially now that she was in such a relaxed state and not trying to keep up appearances. "And are you married?" He touched her arm, and it was like Lidisha had received an electric shock. She was already struggling to control herself, and now, with such a gentle touch, Lidisha turned completely to Estevao and looked into his eyes. "I'm going to do something now that I'll be ashamed of tomorrow, but I'll do it anyway." She leaned in and kissed him first. He responded immediately. When their lips parted, he held Lidisha's face with both hands and whispered in her ear, "Let's get out of here. We need to continue somewhere else." Lidisha nodded in agreement. A few minutes later, they left the restaurant and drove to Estevao's house. The night was hot. The moon was shining brightly. They were filled with passion, not thinking about the consequences. The door had just closed when Estevao pinned Lidisha against the wall and kissed her passionately. His hands began to explore her body. She responded eagerly. In an instant, she found herself in his bed. They continued their passionate dance. It was like an explosion of emotions, each touch increasing their desire. They made love passionately, greedily, like two thirsty souls meeting after a long separation. When the morning came, Lidisha woke up in Estevao's arms. He was watching her with a smile. "Good morning," he whispered, kissing her forehead. "Good morning," Lidisha responded, feeling a mixture of happiness and confusion. "I didn't think it would turn out this way when I first met you," Estevao said, laughing softly. "Neither did I," Lidisha replied. She tried to remember how they got to this point, but the memories were blurred due to the champagne. Well, since we're here, how about some breakfast? Estevao suggested. Sure, I could eat, Letitia agreed. She realized she didn't have her phone. Do you mind if I use your phone? I need to let Camila know I'm okay. Go ahead, Estevao said, handing her the phone. Letitia called Camila, who answered immediately. Where are you? I'm still at Estevao's place, Letitia replied. Oh. So, how was it? Don't ask me now, I'll tell you later, Letitia said, a smile playing on her lips. Alright, I'm glad you're okay. Call me when you're free. I will, Letitia promised and hung up. Estevao prepared a delicious breakfast, and they spent the morning together, getting to know each other better. They talked about their past, their dreams, and their future. For the first time in a long time, Letitia felt truly happy.